Hello there. As we in the UK sip at our morning cup of tea, watching our once great country collapse around us, America is in a euphoric state, dancing to YMCA, whilst we shuffle off to work with our heads bowed down, with no hope for at least another 4 years. I am seething with jealousy. The US has Donald Trump at the helm, while we're saddled with Keir the kneeless Starmer and his useless commies. Trump's chief strategist, Steve Bannon, has predicted that the coming period will be days of thunder as executive orders are signed by the boatload. There will be profound changes in the US, and they will all be about making America great again. While we in the UK have an establishment wedded to the idea of national decline through woke minority interests, mass immigration, and the destructive drive to nut zero, and decolonising something that no longer exists. Which economy would you put your faith in going forwards? That of the UK or Donald Trump's US? What do you think the difference in immigration policy will be between us and the US going forwards? And which population will have the most confidence and hope? While the US can look forward to dynamism and get up and go, we have a stifled legal bureaucrat in charge who spent most of his initial period in office getting up and going abroad. And as I bring Richard in, I will just say that the only people not looking forward to a Trump administration are those who relish living in a heavily regulated, closely watched, bureaucratic swamp, and who believe that we in the UK owe the world a living while we single-handedly save the planet by shutting our own economy down. The rest of us just want to live our lives free to carry out our version of the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. So, Richard, what have you got to say about all of this?
Well, good morning, Jeff. And listen, we must reflect upon what has happened. We have become weak here in the UK. And look at what's happening in the US. They've got some hope in front of them. Yes, it's like we in Britain are the emaciated orphan street urchins, standing in the snow in some Dickensian novel, huddled together, watching families unwrap their Christmas presents and eat Christmas dinners through a frosted window as we return to our hovels and eat some leftover earwax from the night before. America now has a strong alpha male president, whereas we in the UK have a prime minister who is the only man known to ever get knocked out by a punch bag and is amazed when the Christmas tree lights outside Downing Street, they actually work when they're turned on. It's like this. If a man isn't filled with confidence that himself turning on a light switch will actually result in the light itself turning on, then how much confidence does this man have, our Prime Minister, in his country and in his people? Here in Britain, all we have to look forward to is a collapsing economy, increasing mass immigration, pensioners pushed into poverty, not knowing if you will be locked up for something you say on social media, increased taxes, and a government that is covering up the crimes on behalf of a certain demographic. And America has Donald Trump, who in his last stint in power created a cultural and economic renaissance, the magnitude of which the country has not seen in generations. But are we here in the UK jealous? Are we really jealous? Well, I think jealous is an inadequate word to describe how many of us feel in the UK. Granted, the Rainbow Head Brigade will be snorting their soy latte later today, screaming at their televisions as Trump is inaugurated. But that's to be expected from those degenerates. But the rest of us will be praying that Trump and Musk invade Britannia and set us free from our tyrannical government. Look, Trump's foreshadowing impact has already begun. Don't think the ceasefire and hostage handover in the Holy Land right before Trump takes power is coincidental. It is not. And speaking of coincidences, all eyes are coincidentally fixed upon Trump right now. And why not? And we should forget, though, that there are 3 major contentious trials commencing today here in the UK, including that of Axel Rudikabana. Interesting timing for these trials to simultaneously take place, wouldn't you say? Yeah. But nothing to see here. Look away. Look away. Jeff.
Yes, I was going to come on to those 3 trials, and I'll just say that just to let you know that we're not controlled opposition using Trump's inauguration to bury other very important news, because I was going to point out that there is the trial of the alleged Southport killer, Axel Rudikabana, starting today. And I might have something to say about that in a video later on this morning, maybe early afternoon. There's also the trial of Labour councillor Ricky Jones over allegations about his speech and gestures at an anti-fascist rally last year. Oh, the irony about all of that. So, yeah, we will talk about those things and not just talk, basically just about Trump today, because that's all the news that's out there. There's a lot more going on, including the arrest of, was it Piers Corbyn and also Jeremy Corbyn being interviewed under caution. Yes.
Were they actually arrested, Jeff?
No. One, Piers Corbyn, I understand, has been arrested, and along with 10 others, and Jeremy Corbyn was, according to the Sky News, was interviewed under caution. Anyway, that's all about Saturday. I might do something on that as well later. Now, what gets me is that Starmer, whose team included Lammy in the Foreign Office and Mandelson as ambassador to the US, is said to be desperately chasing a trade deal with Donald Trump's US. Trump is more likely to send Lammy and Mandelson away with a flea in their ears. That total debacle that was Chagos is an example enough of the blithering idiots we have in our uniparty establishment. And you can imagine David Lammy's Foreign Office response when Donald Trump starts his big removals project, can't you? The meltdown in our Foreign Office will be epic to behold. It will probably send steam out of Whitehall. I wonder if Lammy will be offering to take them off of Trump's hands in exchange for a trade deal. I wouldn't put that past him,
Yeah.
Anyway, how can an EU-loving UK administration ever do a trade deal that might prevent us going back in? And a trade deal with the US would probably be such a deal. So it ain't gonna happen. Especially when our free speech policies are so misaligned with those of the US. They're proving that they have far more free speech than we do now. Would Starmer ever sign a deal, for example, with Trump that prevented him stifling our free speech, like agreeing to let Elon Musk do as he likes with X in the UK? I don't think that's going to happen. What do you reckon, Richard?
Well, talk about trade, funny enough, in America. In the Telegraph, I'm just reading this headline, because this is what we're meant to be doing as well today. We're meant to looking at the headlines. Right then, ladies and gentlemen. Rachel Reeves to host Trump allies in Davos. Under fire, Chancellor will attempt to woo investors and the new US administration. What? Carry on. Rachel Reeves will hold talks with allies of Donald Trump in Davos next week in an attempt to woo the new US administration. The Chancellor is set to meet business leaders, including Larry Fink, Chief Executive of BlackRock. Hang on a second. Pause. Didn't Larry Fink recently go to Downing Street to meet with Keir Starmer, Jeff?
I think he did.
Yes. And didn't Keir Starmer then tweet out that said that we need to be working with people more closely, like BlackRock?
Yes.
So these are large multinational corporations that oppose completely the ideology of the left, and yet Starmer's straight in there. And I mean, we all know that Starmer loves Davos, but apparently Rachel Reeves does as well, because that's where she's meeting these people. I mean, very strange. I mean, to connect as well, allies as well of Trump saying they're allies. I loosely say that. I think that's a very strange bit of framing there, but there we go. Anyway, moving on as well to Breitbart here. Headline: Millionaires flee UK in record numbers since left-wing Labour's election win. No, you know what, Sherlock? Why would they do that? I wonder. The entire place is collapsing. I mean, these people are probably going to America. They're probably fleeing to America. They can see Trump say, look, that's where we go. Jeff, you and I, if we weren't in for the battle, in for the fight, we should be going to America, but we are in for the battle. We are in for the fight.
Well, here's something from Civil Defence UK. Thanks very much for your contribution. And he says, I live on the Falklands and I wish Trump all the best. Our island governor has stated in a letter to all islanders, Starmer is not our prime minister. Oh, dear me.
Wow.
That's excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Oh, dear. Now, things are looking pretty dire in this country. I don't know whether you've seen it. Who out there is banking at the moment with Santander? Because they are thinking of leaving the UK because it's getting so stifling. Business is stifled here and they want to leave the UK. They'll leave behind some form of business, banking, I think, and that sort of thing. But the high street effort might be moving, might disappear, and they might end up selling their book of loans and mortgages, whatever they've got, on to another provider. And that will remove a major bank from Britain, which is, I mean, this is where we're going with this Labour administration. It's absolutely ridiculous. I hope no one out there is banking with them. Let us know in the comments section if you've heard about this. It must be true because I think it was in the Telegraph and the Times, if I remember rightly. Yeah. There you go.
Well, Jeff, hang on a second. Now, the people have been waiting. Our viewers have been waiting, and the wait is over. Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen? Okay. In the Express, Harry makes mistake ahead of UK return with unreasonable demand. The Duke of Sussex is making a PR error as he visits Britain for High Court trial against newspapers, says ex-royal correspondent. Prince Harry has been criticised by an ex-royal correspondent for his unreasonable expectations for his upcoming stay in the UK. I don't care. I'll say I'm not reading anymore. I don't care. It's absolute rubbish. It means nothing. He's got plenty of money. I don't care what he's asking for. I just don't care about any of them. I don't care. Right, moving on. Something much more important now. And that is Noel Fielding's Bake Off. And this is in the Daily Mail. Noel Fielding's Bake Off future thrown into doubt amid mystery health fears. Well, I don't hope he's ill. I hope he's okay. With Channel 4 bosses in crisis talks as they desperately tried to save their most watched show after he pulled out of Apple TV series Dick Turpin. Yes, I hope you get well, Noel, but at the same time, I don't see why this is important to go on the front line, so that the headlines of the newspapers, when we have got such monumentous world events taking place right now. This is all about framing and distraction and bread and circuses. And finally, yes, look, hang on a second, you lot, right? I know you just, I've had enough of this. I don't want to watch this. If I've got to read this rubbish, you have to sit there and listen to it, all right? So anyway, here we go. In the Daily Mirror, steps Claire Richards rages as treatment by posh London store. Singer Claire Richards angrily outed Harvey Nichols for allegedly only sending part of her Christmas order, leaving her out £350 and missing gifts for her daughter and husband. Did I just read that to you? I have to do this. You need to know you're being played. This rubbish that you're getting in the newspapers. Yes, these are, to the individuals, I'm sure they're quite important things, but to the rest of us, are they important? No, we don't need to read this rubbish. It's not important. Jeff.
Yes, well, Yeah, you just have to look at some of the press, and you've got to understand a lot of it is all there about sort of clickbait and headlines and getting as many viewers as they can in any way they can. So yeah, it's a business, I suppose.
Yeah,
Although
well, you can see why they do
people
it.
don't seem to be voting with their feet, though, do they?
Yeah, you can see why they do it, but I mean, it's not important. These are meant to be. This is what we are told by the authorities to be who we should trust. We, don't trust people like Jeff and myself. Oh no, you mustn't do that. You mustn't trust what we call citizen journalists. I think it is. I don't know. You know what we are today, Jeff. We're like Mr. Ben. You and I have had more jobs than Mr. Ben between the two of us, and so I don't exactly know what we are. I think we're citizen journalists. We're journalists. We're commentators.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, you're being told by the government not to trust people like us, okay? But you must trust people like the Daily Mail, and wasn't it Penny Mordaunt who said, authoritative people like the BBC? I'm sure she endorsed the BBC as a credible.
And the House of Commons Library, she said, the House of Commons Library, yes,
and the BBC, I believe.
I do look at some of the stuff in the House of Commons Library. Because it's, they put out some stuff. One of the big interesting ones I found was quite telling, actually, was after an election. I think it was a 29 election. They might have done it this time as well. I'll have to actually check now, come to think about it. They do a breakdown of all the MPs in the houses of in the House of Commons. And they say, that what jobs did they come from? And it's quite surprising that it's heavy on lawyers, heavy on sort of trades unionists for some reason, heavy on, the public sector. But when it came down to people like, I don't know, miners and people like road sweepers or ordinary people, just ordinary people who might have a good story to tell and a good take on the country, were not there. Ordinary people were not there. We vote for toffs, wealthy people who have the money to be able to campaign to be an MP in the first place. And we don't research them that much because we assume that the parties have researched them, when in actual fact, loads of stuff comes out afterwards, doesn't it? I mean, look at Tulip Siddiq, for example. That's an ongoing former...
thing,
And you just say to yourself, maybe we need to be researching people and be putting forward ordinary people who've got good stories and good histories in work, in both the public and the private sector, making it work. But mostly, I think, in the private sector, making the economy grow. That's what we need. I'm not talking about Trumps all over the place. I'm talking about people who have made it, minor businesses. They've got their little family business. They've kept it running. Maybe we need a few more farmers in there as well.
Yes, absolutely.
But it was quite a good breakdown. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I just want to go to, civil defence again. Sorry to change the subject. Without the Army, Royal Navy and Royal Air Force, us here would be nothing. Starmer must increase armed forces budget. Yeah, that is on the absolutely. Falklands. They have beefed up the military presence. Just before the Falklands conflict, I think there were 20 Marines down there and a research vessel, Endurance, to sort of just do patrols down there and take information. Wasn't a destroyer or anything like that. But now we have a beefed up military presence, as I understand it. I haven't looked at it in recent years. But we're just pulling back on everything because all our money, everything in the nation must be focused on woke, net zero, and saving everyone else on the planet. Not defending us, not looking after us. That is the uniparty establishment's view. It must be to look after the world, everyone else on the planet, and we must pay. And if that means that we end up with a lot less and cannot defend ourselves, then so be it. And it's about time we voted that bunch out and got back to reality of life. But there you go.
Yeah. Thank you, by the way, Civil Defence UK, for that one. Thank you.
Yeah. And von Sauerkraut says AFD for Germany next month general election because they're far right. I think that's going to throw a few wobblies across the EU when that happens. And it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse over there. The only country who's got to put up with 4 years of communism is the UK.
Yeah. I don't know, though. I just don't see it lasting, personally.
Nah, actually, it won't. It'll all implode.
I can't see it happening. I just think they're boiling the frog too quick, as the saying goes. And the people of this country, I'm just reading the comments, all right? People said, "Oh, Richard, you're not instigating anything." He said, "No, I know. I'm reading. It's a thing called reading, observing, and then commenting upon what I read." And the comments I am reading on social media and in the comment section of the newspapers, we're in a very dangerous place. It's quite scary, actually. Yeah, the people are not happy, we'll say. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we need to be very, very careful about who we vote for. That's the reality. Even, dare I say it, the Reform UK general election, when Farage came in at the last minute and found that there was quite a lot wanting in the checking out of some of their candidates. So it affects everybody. You just assume that the party's done their business. The party assumes that the people coming forward are telling the truth. It's pretty much a shambles in this country.
But I do think a lot of people go into the Reform are probably targeted or put up by people on the far left, for instance. This is the kind of games they play to push forward candidates and even fund potentially some candidates to go to Reform to discredit them. That's what I believe. Look, but
they
go on.
Reform UK. Who did they employ and UK employ to check their candidates out?
Hope Not Hate. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, again, that could have been used as that could exactly be part of it. They could have put forward somebody, Hope Not Hate, for instance, or not necessarily Hope Not Hate, but somebody from the far left could have pushed, say, "Oh, put this candidate forward," knowing in full well the light will get shone on them by Hope Not Hate. These are games within games, wheels within wheels. Very, very strange things going on in the background. I can tell you from what I have heard.
Yeah. And I've read this Midge Magoo comment before several times. I would more than welcome a US invasion into the UK.
Yes. At the moment. Well, not if it was under Biden. Can you imagine that? He wouldn't even know where the UK is.
As George Kaspira points out, they want an EU military. Yes, everybody wants to amalgamate European defence. And the reason being they think that it will give us a massive force when it's joined together, big enough to defend Europe, and it's going to be a lot cheaper. That's why it's going to be cheaper, so that we can then throw more rubbish at woke, more money at woke, just more and more. And it's just ridiculous. It's not going to be cheaper. It's going to be more expensive. It's going to be more bureaucratic. And in the UK, we will be forced to buy EU military equipment. Because we won't be manufacturing it here because our energy is so expensive. You couldn't make this up. We will be relying on our defence on everyone else because we won't be able to do it ourselves.
Well, Jeff, doesn't this actually make you think that, unfortunately, because this has happened in the past and under a Conservative administration, under Churchill, was it Churchill? Was Churchill? Yes, of course he was. No, it wasn't. No, I'm just trying to think of the correct. Who initiated the command economy? That's my point here, Jeff. Who initiated it?
Oh, that would have been the Labour administration after the Second World War,
That's right,
basically.
It was, yeah, I knew I was making a mistake there somewhere.
Yeah. But there again, let's get this straight. The command economy, sorry, just want to say thank you very much, I Seen You Warrior, for your super sticker. Thank you very much. I will just say that we, after the Second World War, it was what was carried out was what was planned during the end of the Second World War.
Yeah.
So the NHS, for example, wasn't made by the Labour Party after the Second World War. It was announced by a Tory minister, the Minister of Health, or the Health Secretary at the time, a guy called Willink, in 1944, I believe it was, before the end of the war. He announced it, but he didn't announce it because he was a Tory or whatever it was. It had actually gone through a joint cross-party approval. Everybody in Parliament said, we are going to have an NHS. It was born during that process. It was announced as the National Health Service by the Tories. The fact that Labour got into power and then implemented it is another issue. It wasn't Labour's idea per se. It was a joint effort. And that's how this command economy, it was a joint effort to rebuild the country, and they had to go through this. We may be at that point. I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say here, is that we potentially have a situation where even if you have what we would call a centrist or centre-right government coming into the power, they may have to implement, in order to save this country, because of the state of it, they may have to implement things that some people would equate with being on the left of the political spectrum. Things like nationalising certain aspects of our infrastructure in order to make things work. I don't know. But when you're pushed into when you're pushed against a wall, I mean, it depends on what reliefs they can present to the private sector in order to stimulate the economy and to stimulate the production of munitions, for instance, for our armed forces.
Yeah,
you know, that's that.
Yeah,
and it's a very different kind of warfare we got now. We've got drone warfare, entirely different.
Yeah.
Sorry, good comment here, Jeff. Do you want to take this again from Civil Defence UK? Thank you for this, mate.
No, you go for it. You go for it.
Okay, we got 45 full-time squaddy shirt. That's in the Falklands, I'm assuming, again here. We have what looks like a large fishing boat. That is what the Blues and Royals call it. We are British. Wow, 45 full-time squaddies. That's not a lot, mate, is it?
I think it may have fallen in time because memories fade. Memories of war fade. Oh, that happened years ago. It'll never, ever, ever happen again. Ever. We will never be at war again, ever. That's what they think.
Yeah.
If you want peace, prepare for war. Be ready. Prepare for it.
Yes.
Have an army sizable enough to deter anyone else. Don't rely on a nuclear deterrent on its own either. That's not enough. Anyway, you need proper defense.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, sorry. That's an old one there. So
there's one here by Martin Skipper. Sorry, super chat. Might as well go through these. Who the F will be? Sorry, will the world beat up and blame when the UK is gone? That's a very good question. Yes, I mean everything's down to the British Empire, isn't it? According to you know. What people don't realise, for instance, we get knocked around for our part in the slave trade years and years and years and years ago. It was Britain who abolished the slave trade. Am I correct there, Jeff? When the rest of the world was
we abolished the slave trade in as much as we, the Royal Navy went to sea and basically smashed the transatlantic slave trade from across into the US, and it cost us an arm and a leg. Lots of sailors died during that period, and we were still paying off the debt of that up until I think early this century. But
so, let's not forget that the slave trade was going on after that in other countries throughout Africa, and you must remember that the slave trade also pre-existed the British Empire.
Now, this is a good comment. Thank you very much, Yam's Physical Catalogue of Media. I have a question. It's important for us English Caucasians to have kids to keep up the white population, but I don't want kids in this country being mentally abused by the leftist schools, etc. No way. And this is a big issue for me as well. A lot of people are being put off of having children in this country, A, because of the economy. They can't afford it. They can't afford to put a roof over their own heads, let alone have an extra room for children, extra money for food for them, school uniforms, and all the rest of it. So they're finding it very difficult. And then there's the case of you're being bombarded. Oh, do not bring a kid into this world. It will net zero, blah, 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 and all the rest of it. So we're getting that one. Then we're being told it's racist for us to have children. Oh, yes, that's one of the big claims out there. Us having children is a racist act.
Yeah, if you're white,
and then,
if you're white and having children in the UK, apparently now if you read a lot of the literature and things coming out of the wokerati, it's yes, Jeff, people who have white children who are white and to like their children just as they are is a racist thing. How on earth did that happen? How did it become racist to have children of your own ethnicity? What's wrong with that? Look, I don't care what your color of your child is, what color you are, or creed. It means nothing to me. But don't tell people if they, it's like if they're having children, and they're white, that it's racist. What on earth is that about? You wouldn't say it the other way around, would you? They wouldn't say it about.
No, I know.
It's just annoys me, and that is racism. This is the problem. We have racism in Britain, but it's not coming in generally from the people on the right. Granted, of course, there is a far right. Nothing to do with, what the left are currently calling the far right. No, I'm talking the real far right, who are ethno-nationalists. And I want nothing to do with such people, right? Nothing at all. Go away. But the problem we have here is that the left are the racists. That's what's happening. That's it. The wokerati are racists. They're anti-white, they're anti-British.
But that's why they then, what I would call mentally abuse at lefty schools, because they're telling young kids that they are worthless, that their history is slavery, that they have to apologize from the moment they're born to the moment they're dead. They have to apologize for it.
Yes.
I say no. No, we're not going to apologize for history. We're going to move forward into the future. And if you want to cause division, we don't want anything to do with you. Do not cause division. Yeah. Anyway.
Great comment here by
Charles Yam's Physical Catalogue of Media.
Yes. Charles Ramos Jr., this comment here. My skin is right, but I'm Mexican, Native American. Now what, race baiters? Absolutely. Do you know, same here. I'm international I'm white-skinned. Very quite pale skinned, actually, but when it comes to my genetics, good grief. I've got Middle East, I've got everywhere, Iran, I've got Norway, Ireland. No Welsh, though. Tom Jones is darker than me.
Yes. Thank you again, Civil Defence. I love this channel, and thank you, sir, as well. We do our best. It's just trying to put our thoughts across and see how they chime with most people. Yes, well, it's been, as I said, the leading story was, of course, Trump. We seem to have come off on a tangent, but that's how these things happen. It's just like a real conversation. Yes.
Yes, and here, a great one here by Sam T. I feel the real far right are so small they are almost a myth. Anyone right of far left is now far right. Absolutely. That nails it. Well done, Sam T. Thank you.
If you look at the prescribed list of right-wing organisations in the UK, you'll find that there's a few very, very minor groupings that would probably make up enough to put in your sitting room. This is what we're talking about. There are not 40,000 people on a watch list, if you get my drift.
No.
Anyway, I've got to prepare to get out another video later, probably at about 1 o'clock. So it's time for us to make a move, I think.
Indeed. Well, Jeff,
otherwise I won't get it done.
Yes, Jeff's doing the video for 1 o'clock. I'm not sure if I'm going to be on that one, but if not, I'll be seeing you later on this evening, ladies and gentlemen. And please, every day, come. We're going to be here Monday to Friday. A bit between 9 and 10 o'clock, so we're pretty easy on it. So if you could, regularly check in, and if you enjoy what we're doing, and if you really enjoy what we're doing, press that like button. And then press the subscribe button and choose the all option. And if you don't choose the all option, you won't get notified when we put a video out. It's that simple. There we go. Jeff.
Thank you very much, everyone, for watching and for your input. It's been really good to see. And although we have got sometimes a bit of a down message, it does seem to be upbeat. At least people know what they're facing, and we know we're going to develop a plan to get out of this. And that means, firstly, voting for the right people. So on that note, I will say it's good morning so far from me.
And it's good morning from him, and God bless you all. I'll see you later on this evening. I will come back for lunchtime. Don't forget, Jeff's got something at lunch. Bye.
Good morning.